What's up, YouTube? Eugenius here, joined by my fellow perfume snob, Christo. We're still snobs, right?
Yeah, definitely.
All the way,
Yeah.
to the very end.
To the core.
I expect nothing less. All right, and today we've got a review for you today, from Christian Dior's Leather Oud. And discontinued. I don't know. There's rumors of this being discontinued or hard to find. Maybe still available on the website. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. We're just reviewing the perfume. Familiar with Leather Oud?
Yeah, so like I was just saying a couple minutes ago, I've tried this many times, but never actually owned a bottle. And, oh, that's going to be strong.
The way we like it.
Yeah, never owned a bottle, but very familiar with it. I really enjoy it, and just smelling it now makes me want to go grab a bottle.
Before we get into Leather Oud, let's get into the Maison Dior private line, or Christian Dior Prive. Let me get your thoughts on that. I know our thoughts are kind of like very parallel to each other, and we share a lot of the same sentiments. Let's get that out there.
Sure.
What do you think of Christian Dior's private perfume line?
I think even though it would be in the top tier of like designer exclusives, I on the whole, I don't think it can touch Chanel or Hermes.
Okay.
They're first and second by a mile. Dior's probably my third, but it would be a distant third.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like Hermes, lace exclusives, photo finish kind of thing. I think I probably do prefer lace exclusives, but it's very close. Whereas this one, it's kind of like, you know,
okay,
that kind of thing.
Where does Guerlain fit in all of this?
Like the exclusives,
yeah.
I think they're too difficult. In my opinion, they're too difficult to lump in because
they've just got so many different exclusive
exactly
lines, right?
They're so diverse and so, you know, it's like, oh, we want to do like an entire line of just like really soft green feminine fragrances. Okay, let's make eight of them.
New line, right?
Yeah, it's just like they can do that. Dior can't. I think though,
like let's consider just the art and material line as you know,
even though the L'Art et Matière I find to be very sweet and gourmandish for my taste generally. Rose Barbar, very obviously different instance there, but yeah, Guerlain. I would put L'Art et Matière.
Conceptually, I think I prefer Dior's line, but
really?
You know,
okay, so yeah, when
you're factoring craftsmanship and subtlety, and I much prefer Guerlain's exclusive line.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like you say, the sweetness kind of rubs me.
Yeah.
I don't think the Dior Prive line is crafted as well as all the others.
No.
It feels like
there's a lot of crap designer exclusives, like a lot. Some have decent hits here and there, like the Armani Prive.
Yeah.
There's a few good ones here and there, but for the most part, it's a pretty junk.
It's like a
line.
third tier brand almost. Like,
yeah. You know, I don't really hold the Armani designers in high esteem either. Though.
No,
like there's a few here and there that are nice, but so the Dior Prive, whatever they're called. I need Paulo here to correct me. I remember being really excited to try them. So in about 2009, 10, 11, Leather Oud was kind of like the animalic darling of the Fragcom.
Yeah.
We're kind of getting into oud territory. Niche is becoming more and more accessible. Designer exclusives are becoming more and more accessible. And like the fragrance reviewers from like 9, 10, 11, they were calling Leather Oud like the skankiest, dirtiest, just most anime thing out there.
Outrageous.
And I wanted to try them so bad, so bad for many reasons, many reasons, and that just kind of, you know, added to it. So when I went to Singapore in about 2011 or 12, I finally got to try what would have been in production at that time. And I remember really liking a couple things, but being really disappointed by a lot of them. Because I
Of
also got
the line.
yeah, because I also got to try the uh, Lay's exclusives in the full for the first time, and I was so blown away by them. The Dior's really disappointed me,
Yep.
and since then it's kind of a reoccurring thing. There's things from the Preve line that I like, things that grown on me, but there's also things that just have no interest, especially the new stuff that they put out. It almost smells like, body mist.
Yeah, that's how a lot of the new stuff. They're just really fresh and light, citrusy florals.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like destroyed the line, the brand.
It smells like something that, Guerlain would put out as like
an Aqua Allegoria.
Yeah, an Aqua Allegoria, or like the scents that you spray on material.
Yeah,
like
fabric.
The fabric scents, yeah.
Which are good in of themselves, but from that price point, there's just so much better things you can get. So there's a lot that from this line that I like from the older Preve line. I think this is the only one that I really love.
Really?
I think Eau Noir is all right. I think it's overhyped. I think Ombre Nuit is all right. I think it's overhyped. I think Oud Isfahan is
okay.
All right.
So also, I like Oud Isfahan, but again, kind of when I tried it back in like 2011 or 12, it was very much the only thing I had ever smelled like it. Fast forward 8 years, I've smelled Oud Isfahan, in one way, shape, or form 1,000 times since then. Some that predate it, some that post-date it.
In its defense, though, it is like the first almost
for
of that style.
For a mainstream Western exclusive, totally.
But it's not really Oud Isfahan's fault for being copied. It actually deserves praise, I think, for that. But
totally. Queer Canage to me is one of the best leather scents ever made. Mass-produced kind of designer leathers, modern. Let's add on to that as well. And there's things I like. I like
Patchouli Imperial.
I like that. I like that a lot. I like Gris Montaigne.
I don't own. I like what's the iris one called?
Oh yeah. Bois d'Argent.
Bois d'Argent, which I don't own. So
I like that as well.
It seems like I own more that I don't like than the ones that I actually do like.
Mm-hmm.
But saying that, let's get into leather oud. So the first time I smelt leather oud, a friend he's like, "You've never smelt leather oud?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "That's like blasphemy." So he sent me up a sample, and the first time I wore it was at work, and I literally almost threw up because it was just really animalic, barnyardy, poopy. It reminded me of horses and manure and the stable. And I remember after work going to my mom's house to visit and just driving in the car, and it just really got warm and my stomach started to churn. And when I went inside, I was like, my mom had some friends over, and I wanted to keep my distance. I didn't want any of her friends to come over and greet me and say hello or give me a hug, because I was like, they're gonna be like really annoyed and repulsed and disgusted. And after that, like at the end of the day and tomorrow, like the next day, I thought, I need a bottle of that stuff. It was kind of like one of the first things that hit me, like, like conceptually, like to draw me into the niche world.
Yeah. And I can see that. And, kind of looking back, when this was getting talked about, not massively, it was never like on par with Aventus or Dior Homme Intense or whatever, but for a brief window in 9 or 10, it was really, really held in high esteem.
A lot of those are mass appealing. Like Aventus is easy to wear and approachable. What's the other one you mentioned?
Dior Homme Intense.
Yeah, Dior Homme Intense is also like, okay, it might sway a little bit femme, but it's also like a lot more approachable than this. There's not many people that like the animalic aspect of a perfume.
Yeah.
It's almost like 50-50. I don't know, 30-80. I don't know what the ratio is, but Yeah, it never really got blown up to Aventus levels.
Well,
But
and I think what happened as well, very soon after, Bois d'Argent blew up, and people kind of forgot about Leather Oud. So it's kind of like Leather Oud was, getting a lot of talk, and then it was like Oud Ispahan, and people started to forget about Leather Oud, and then Bois d'Argent, and it just kind of snowballed until like nowadays, no one mentions Leather Oud ever.
so I think this was released in, was it '09 or 11?
Don't
Okay, it
know.
was one or the other, and I really wanted a bottle, and I heard that it had been reformulated and they took out that dirty animalic aspect. So whatever year it was released, my bottle is 1 year after the initial
Oh,
year.
really?
And my bottle does not smell. I don't get that animalic aspect. I don't get that poopy manure
Oh, really?
barnyardy part of it. It's been castrated a little bit. It's still very it's dirty, but to me now it's
Your
more
timer's blinking.
it's more pissy. It's fine.
Okay.
So it's got that civet and it's pissy. So instead of poopy, this to me seems more pissy.
Interesting.
So to me, it opens up very smoky, almost like camphorous. Like you're out in the woods. You just set a bonfire. There's some spices in here. The leather note. The leather is very soft and sensual. It's not like there is birch tar. It's almost like you've set a bunch of birch wood on fire. So very smoky, very resinous, and you're maybe even wearing some worn-in cowboy boots, and you've got your horse saddle close by. For spices, I get a really masculine clove note, which I love. Like clove to me can take a perfume from a 4 rating right to 5. It just from that single note, it adds that little bit of masculinity. It adds just that extra bit of nuance. And clove can also come off a bit challenging.
I find when cloves are, I don't know, clove is a note I've struggled with for a long time. And it's when it gets sour that really bothers me.
Sour
Serge
and
Luton,
balmy,
Serge
yeah.
Noir gets really sour, and it's really bothering me. Like, I can't wear it anymore. And I think I was telling you I was selling my body, and like, why? That stuff's amazing. Like, it's sour. I find something really sour in it, and it's the clove.
It could be, yeah, because it can get quite balmy. This is very balmy and very pissy, and I don't know. It's just
compared to what's on the shelf today. What do you think? Is it really that bad, or is it passable?
What do you mean?
Like the leather oud that's on the shelves now.
I haven't smelt what they have recently, but my bottle, like, I love it to pieces. Like, love it, love it, love it. And so we were discussing about doing, our favorite leather perfumes, like either a top 5 or a top 10 favorite leather perfumes. This would definitely make the list, and I think it would maybe even crack the top 5 of my favorite leather perfumes.
Wow. I like it. I don't have enough experience with it to put it that high.
Yeah. So, like dissecting the name Leather Oud.
Yeah.
So I do get a fair portion of leather from this, and it is that very soft and sensual leather boots, a soft jacket, a soft saddle. Now the oud, it's not like, I don't really get like smoked oud oil from this. It's more like smoked woods.
Right.
Like balmy, wet smoke. Like, it's almost like if you took wet logs and try to catch them on fire.
Yeah, sure.
So the smoke from that, how the smoke would be like plumy and thick and dark. That's really what I get
see
from
that.
It.
Yeah, and there's definitely like an ashiness to it on the dry down. It's been on this for about half an hour now, and something like I always call ashy. And when ashy is kind of green, I don't like it as much. But when it's more like smoky ashy, I like it. Like, that's one of my big things with Aventus. Every batch of Aventus I've ever tried dried down to a green ashiness, and I didn't like it. Whereas this is more of a
It's
A
got
smoky ashiness.
it's got quite a bit of birch, and
Yeah.
if they were to call this even queer oud or something, I'd be okay with it because it's got this almost this salty butteriness. Like the leather's buttery, and when I'm wearing it, the idea of taking a frying pan and melting butter in it with a little bit of salt and just frying up a piece of like suede or a corner of a leather jacket comes to mind.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's very buttery, it's very soft and slightly salty. It's almost like buttered salt or salted butter.
Yeah, I can see that. As weird as it sounds to talk about butter and salt and leather
frying
oud.
up a piece of leather, right? And then maybe pouring a little bit of spices on there.
Yeah. I like this. You've definitely got me intrigued, to trying to revisit this.
I think it's definitely a must-have for, a leather connoisseur or collector, especially before they go out of production or existence. I don't know what the deal is really, but it's really unfortunate, I think.
Yeah.
Because they've really they've taken the whole line and dumped it down the toilet. Like, it wasn't great to begin with, I think, and now it's just like even worse,
And Queer Canage has definitely been cut, right?
I don't know.
I'm
I haven't
quite
been
certain
because they never,
because when they got them back in at Saks in Toronto, they didn't get in Queer Canage.
It's possible, yeah.
Because I know there was talks about Queer Canage being discontinued, and right around when the new line was coming out, and we went in like soon after they got all the new bottles in, and they didn't get Queer Canage, so it would make sense that it's not going to be in the line anymore. Which it's like one of the top fragrances, in my opinion. In terms of like just being the top and the best, not necessarily the biggest seller. I'm sure Queer Canage didn't sell very well. That's why it was being axed. But
yeah,
for the fragrance lovers, most people would put if you took a real fragrance lover, said give me your top 5 Dior Prives, probably it would be like Bois d'Argent, Leather Oud, Queer Canage, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? And then that's Queer Canage got axed, possibly axing Leather Oud. But you always got to be careful. What happens is, they run out of stock somewhere, and then everyone starts these, discontinuation rumors. Because I've been hearing this for months and months and months and months, people talking about Leather Oud getting discontinued.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, we'll see. Maybe it's just been in the works for a long time. I have to try it if we go over to Toronto.
Like smelling the pissiness of this. It's almost like waking up and like drenched in stale piss, like not even fresh warm piss. It's like stale cold piss, like being so drunk that you can't even like, I don't know, feel the piss. Like you wake up hours after you've pissed yourself.
Sure.
That's what it smells like. But so, to me, like the downfall of the whole Dior brand was with the release of Fève. Because after Fève came like the Sauvage, and it was just like...
Was that really? Was it Fève and then Sauvage?
Like, do you remember like the first time we had smelled Fève? Like, do you remember this scenario?
Yes.
You want like, let's rehash.
Yeah. Wasn't it? I could be wrong.
At Saks.
And did I spray it and then I just handed it to you and said, smell this? Is that what happened?
Yeah, without
because it
knowing
happens
what it
a
was.
lot where I'll find something either really amazing or really horrible, and I'll just be like, smell this.
Yeah.
And what was your reaction?
I was like, oh, like what? This is disgusting and vile. What is it?
Yeah.
It was just like so syrupy, gooey, goopy, sweet sugar, like.
It's just, the Tonka bombs. Everyone's doing Tonka, So that's interesting. So Fève predates Sauvage.
I think Fève came and then Sauvage. So
I don't remember. They were pretty close, weren't they? Probably within a year of each other.
So it was like, it was obviously very planned to go mainstream. And
yes, I think
the whole intention is to move units instead of create conceptual perfume.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because, this used to be a a great brand.
I guess the perfume industry now is so cutthroat. Like, even, the bigwigs are probably, struggling. Maybe not struggling, but for how much the perfume market's grown, their portion of the market is being chipped away at by indie houses, by, designer houses that are doing their own exclusive lines. Like, every designer has an exclusive line now.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
Hugo Boss has an exclusive line.
Do they?
Yeah.
Prada?
They have two. Prada has
Ew.
two. Like,
Ew.
one that's like really, really, really obscure, like only in Paris and like Vegas, and then one that's like in, kind of like Dior in like kind of every other counter.
Do you remember the Aqua de Parma exclusives that we ran into like
Yeah.
a half year ago?
Yeah, I remember.
At like what? Was it $500?
There was something like that. I can't remember, but yeah, I
Even
kind of
more
would have
insane
forgotten.
and outrageous.
Yeah. And there were like a couple of them like, oh, that's a nice opening, and then in like 20 minutes,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh,
You
it's
pull
really
a blotter
crappy.
out 20 minutes later, and you're like,
Yeah.
get away.
$500. So yeah, I think it is just that's what Dior's doing now, and I think they kind of have to keep their.
Well, I don't think
Their
they're
share.
struggling with Sauvage. They've
No.
definitely
But that's
created a
why
hit.
that's Feb Delicious and Sauvage. Feb for the niche market, exclusive market. Sauvage for the designer market, just to kind of move units exactly like that. I guess it's it's just kind of like that whole designer world where boutiques will sell at a loss because the 3 or 4 boutiques that sell massive amounts keep the other ones open.
Yeah.
It's like Louis Vuitton. Apparently, like Louis Vuitton in Moscow has like really low sales, but it's such
They got to keep the
it's
face.
such a big market and such a grand store. Exactly, they have to keep it open. And just like
Even though
in
they're losing.
Jakarta, is like there's friggin' 3 Louis Vuitton dealers in Jakarta, like a third world city that very few people have ever heard of, and there's 3 Louis Vuittons, and it's like I can't imagine they're selling a lot of units, but they got to keep their foot in the market, and they're obviously taking from like Beijing, Shanghai,
It's tourist
London,
money, right?
New
Chinese
York.
money.
Yeah. Very interesting. But anyways, we're way off topic.
Which isn't uncommon.
No.
Anyway, I think that's it really for Leather Oud. Unfortunate, but it is what it is. I won't be backing up my bottle. I've got enough here
You've
to
got
last.
a lot.
Like I've kind of like, should I get another? And I was like, no, fuck it. Like
that'll
this will
last
last
you.
me forever. And I typically I'll wear this maybe 3 or 4 times in the winter,
Mhm.
and that's the only season I'll wear it.
Yeah.
Is when it's really cold and rigorous out. But there you go, Leather Oud. Let us know what you guys think of Leather Oud. If we might be dead there.
We're getting close.
Let us know what you think of Leather Oud. If whatever you want to say, drop a comment below, and we'll see y'all.
And if we could get a definitive answer, but then everyone's gonna say like, yeah, I know for a fact it is not discontinued, and the next person, I know for a fact it is discontinued, but whatever. It'll just be interesting to see if it is.
can cause a great debate
Yeah.
on Leather Oud. All right, thanks for watching, guys.